thanks to Kamalo Deen for inviting me, and welcome everybody. Okay, I have a little paper, being an academic, called Trinidad and Tobago Film, A Long Time Coming. And it deals with the early years of film. As with most countries in the English-speaking Caribbean, indigenous filmmaking did not take place in Trinidad and Tobago until many years after the introduction of film. The first film screenings were presented as early as 1900 at the Princess Building in Port of Spain by a Professor Montval as part of a program of live entertainment. The first cinema, the London Electric, was opened in Port of Spain in 1911, and within a few years there were cinemas opening throughout the country. By 1921, the colonial authorities decided that they had to control this increasingly popular medium, and a board of censors was established. The growth of cinemas and enthusiastic audiences reached its apogee in the 1960s, leading to a general decline with the advent of television in 1962 and the emergence of video clubs and rampant piracy that has occurred from the 1970s to the present. Some of the first films about Trinidad and Tobago that were shown here were newsreels about the First World War. These were shown in the local cinemas, and it was estimated that in 1915, 2/3 of all cinemas showed newsreels. A number of them showed troops from Trinidad and Tobago marching and being inspected in London. Pathé produced a film called Trinidad Troops, 1915. Gaumont produced Our Overseas Troops, same year, while Tropical Budget produced two mini-features, Trinidad to the Trenches, 1950, and From Trinidad to Serve the Empire, 1916. What is of interest is that nearly all the recruits filmed were white, thus reinforcing the racial stratification that existed in the Caribbean at the time. Newsreels and short films that highlighted the events of the Second World War were also very popular in Trinidad and Tobago. And there was one of the most popular films was called West Indies Calling, 1943, produced by the Ministry of Information, that explained the West Indies' contribution to the Second World War through interviews with two important Trinidadians, the cricketer Leary Constantine and the fighter pilot Ulrich Cross. The first dramatic production that was filmed in Trinidad and Tobago was the 1927 black and white silent film Robinson Crusoe, written, produced and directed by an Englishman called M.K. Weatherall, who also starred in the film. The first local filmmaker from Trinidad and Tobago emerged during this period. His name was Louis Tucker. I think his family has something to do with Chaguaramas, who was originally a photographer who made some short documentaries in the 1920s and 1930s, including films for the local tourist board. He was also hired by foreign, mainly British companies to film stories for the newsreels that were shown at local cinemas. His ambition was to film and direct a locally made dramatic film. This he achieved in 1932, when he established a film company, Tucker Picture Productions, and directed Trinidad and Tobago as most probably the English-speaking Caribbean's first dramatic film, Dead Man's Gold. With the theme of pirates and haunted hidden treasure, it was not a very original idea, but he was able to put together a totally local team to make this film. The cast and crew included the writer Alfred Mendez, who played the lead role, and the lawyer Algernon Wharton, who designed and produced the titles for the film. It was screened throughout the country, along with documentaries on health and public education issues. There was one other film produced in Trinidad before the war. It was a film called Callaloo, 1937, made by two English persons, Irene Nicholson and Brian Montague. It was commissioned by the Trinidad Guardian newspaper and included the local artist-dancer Bosco Holder and actor-singer Edric Connor. Little is known about this film, as with Dead Man's Gold. No copies exist today. Another pioneering local filmmaker was Frank Saint-Just, who made some short films in the 1940s, including the government-commissioned film To Vote is a Great Duty. In 1949, Trinidad and Tobago, along with Jamaica, Barbados and British Guyana, sent representatives to attend a one-year training course in film production in Jamaica conducted by the Colonial Film Unit. Wilfred Lee represented Trinidad and Tobago. Following the training, Lee returned to Trinidad to head the country's film unit and produced a number of films on educational and developmental themes, including the unit's first film, Cocoa Rehabilitation, 1951. With the introduction of television in 1962, the government film unit began to produce 16mm black and white magazine-style programs for television. Film production improved increasingly expensive, and the introduction of video technology resulted in the formation of a government television unit. By the 1990s, the film unit ceased operation. Trinidad and Tobago were the scenes of many motion pictures made in the 50s. Three major ones were Fire Down Below, 1957, Heaven Knows Mr. Allison, and Swiss Family Robinson, 1960. And as I see, we have two co-represented here. Robert Mitchum actually went on to produce a Calypso LP. And Edric Connor, who acted in Far Down Below, he went on to produce two documentaries, one called Carnival Honeymoon, 1960, and Carnival Fantastique, 1960 as well, that featured Trinidad's Carnival. It was not until 1970 that Trinidad and Tobago produced its first feature-length dramatic film, The Right and the Wrong. An Indian national, Harbans Kumar, married to a Trinidadian, directed two films in quick succession, and The Right and the Wrong and Caribbean Fox were both released in 1970. They were both filmed on location in Trinidad and Tobago, and the first locally made feature films in the English-speaking Caribbean. Right and the Wrong was set during the period of slavery, and it won a gold medal for photography at the Atlanta Film Festival. And the cinematographer Robert Hawkins went on to work on Kumar's second film, The Caribbean Fox. The film starred many of the same actors as The Right and the Wrong: Angela Sukaran, big chief from South, Gloria David, Ralph Mirage, who's the present chairman of the film company, Wilbert Holder, and J.C. McDonald. It also featured the Calypsonian, the Mighty Sparrow, who performed the Calypso Miss Sparrow's adventure in Vietnam in the film. Caribbean Fox was a comedy set in Trinidad's underworld. Despite being criticized by local and international critics, the film proved to be very successful commercially in the Caribbean and with the Caribbean audiences, diaspora audiences in America and England. Harbans Kumar did not make another film in Trinidad for a decade, when in 1982 he directed and produced Man from Africa, also called Go for India, as he made a version for the Indian market using a different soundtrack. He has since changed his name to Bikini Valley, and he lives in New York working as a writer, producer, and film distributor. The most important film to be produced in Trinidad and Tobago was BIM, 1974. The African-American director Hugh Robertson, married to a Trinidadian Suzanne Nunez, who had previously filmed Dream of Monkey Mountain in Trinidad, Derek Walker's play, decided to establish a film production company, Shark Productions, with local investors and directors. The film also had, with the help of key professionals from Los Angeles, Robertson worked with an entirely local cast, starring Ralph Mirage and Robert Holder, to create a critically acclaimed film, BIM, 1974. The film had a powerful script by Raoul Pantin and a multicultural musical score by Andre Tanker, the late Andre Tanker. The film won a gold medal at the United States Virgin Islands Film Festival in St. Thomas in 1975, was shown at the Carafesta Film Festival in Jamaica, 76, and the Los Angeles Film Festival the same year. Hugh Robertson and Shark went on to make another film, Avro, but it experienced financial problems and was only completed under the name Obia, just 1 year before the director's death, and it was shown just once in San Francisco in 1987. The only other film, local feature film produced in Trinidad and Tobago in the 1970s was Bacchanal Time, 1979. Directed by Kamalo Deen. The film followed in the comedic humor of Caribbean Fox and included stick fighting, soca and chutney music with performances by Calypsonians, Calypso Rose, Rio, Crazy, Wanderer and Shadow. It followed the exploits of two stick fighters, Gregory Valentine and Kamalo Deen, during the carnival celebrations. The film proved very popular with West Indian audiences, especially in Brooklyn, where it played for 4 weeks at the Granada Theatre. Deen went on to make another low-budget film, The Panman, in 1997, with a steel band score composed by Chit Samru. It's been very popular with Caribbean audiences in North America, where it has been shown at church halls and community centres. In 2010, Bacchanal Time and The Panman were released on DVD at Deen's Plaza in San Fernando, and I'm very pleased to have presented this short history of the early 80s film.